Hello, true crime enthusiasts. Welcome to Based on a Book, where we cover stories that have more twists than a season of Love Island. Your favorite clueless detective is back. I'm Keri, always 2 steps behind, but somehow still on the case.
I'm Lindsey, and I love a good murder board.
And I'm Crystal. I don't have enough red string or push pins for this book.
This episode is my pick for March Mysteries, and it is the young adult mystery novel, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, and its 2024 6-episode TV show made for BBC, which was eventually released internationally on Netflix. So this is going to be an extra special episode because we are going to be covering and releasing this episode in 3 parts, where we will only be covering 2 episodes of the TV show at a time, which you will see in the titles and the details of our show notes. Basically, we are just giving ourselves more time to cover more material in a TV show and splitting it up so it's easier to navigate for our listeners. So I'm going to set...
Yup.
I'm going to set the scene as we usually do, but I'm going to make it short and sweet because no one wants to know too much about the mystery before we get into the mystery.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a small town, and our main character, Pip, decides to take on a school project for her senior year where she investigates a murder case that everyone in this town talks about. After a popular high school girl, Andy Bell, disappears, everyone in this town, including the police, believe that she was murdered by her boyfriend, Sal Singh. Pip thinks there's more to the story, and this book is her investigation. So we dun dun. We have only read book 1 for the podcast, but this book does have a conclusion to the overall mystery in the story. That being said, I looked into it, and it is a continuous series with the same characters. So now let's get into the ratings. And it only feels right to start with the murder queen herself.
Okay, Crystal. Okay. All right, so for this one, I gave it 3.5 capstones.
Okay.
I really liked the whodunit aspect. I liked the mystery. It was really well written. I didn't like some of the characters, and you could tell it was very YA.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I gave it 3.5 and not 4, because I almost gave it 4. Oh, also, I'm not going to say it, but you all know something happens, and I was not happy.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that one coming. Okay, Crystal.
I have this 3.5 unknown colors. I felt basically the same way. I liked the mystery part of it. I feel like it left me guessing. It left me readjusting my own theories as I was reading along. And I really loved that. But it was definitely very YA. There were definitely a lot of characters that I felt like were, I don't want to say immature because they're young, they're teenagers, they're supposed to be immature. But even some of the adult characters were a little immature, one-dimensional kind of, I don't know. There was nobody in the story that I particularly fell in love with or rooted for. But the mystery part was really fun.
Okay. So for me, I gave this book. So this book actually somehow became one of my top books of the year so far.
Whenever she giggles like that, I know that means, oh no, she's either rated it way, way lower than us or way, way higher than us.
This isn't even, whenever I say a book is like one of my top of the year, I always give it like a 6-star. Because there's like 5 stars that are like my favorite, and then there's like 6 stars, like that's gonna be in my top of the year. I don't know what happened, but I was consumed by this freaking story. If I'm reading a physical, at night with my book light on. The book light that I have around my neck that has little headlamps on. Like, I never want to do that. I'm a Kindle girl. I never want to be reading my physical in bed. But best believe I was staying up all night finishing this book. I don't know why. It just completely consumed me, and I just couldn't put it down. And I was obsessed.
I thought you finished it pretty quickly.
Yeah. I binged the hell out of that book, and I loved it. And it was just like, it's not a cozy mystery whatsoever,
No.
but to me, this is cozy. Because it's like, the YA mystery is what, like, I was very much into the young adult novels like this when I first started reading, but it was more like the fantasy side. So whenever I started this, like, it kind of reminded me of The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, minus the fantasy part of it. So if you've ever read that series, it's just like the mystery part of it, plus like the main character trying to discover what's happening in this small town. I don't know, like, it just gripped me and I couldn't stop reading it, so
I get it. It was definitely
I really liked it.
it was not bad by any means.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get into our book versus show breakdown and get into all the spoilers. So from here on out, we will have spoilers for only episodes 1 and 2 of the TV show. That being said, I ain't perfect, and I'm going to try really hard not to spoil the rest of the show. I'm going to try to stick to only episodes 1 and 2, but I'm the clueless detective, and you're not allowed to be mad at the clueless detective. I don't make the rules. That's just the rule.
It's a rule.
So grab your string, start your recorder, and get that murder board, because we got a suspicious crime on our hands. But first, let's start with some content warnings. Because just because it's young adult doesn't mean it's not dark. Because it's pretty dark.
It's pretty dark.
Yeah. So content warnings are murder, violence, themes of suicide, trauma, and emotional abuse, gore, substance abuse, talk of rape, but I don't think that there's any on page. There is like a flashback. I don't remember any rape on page, but there is talk of rape in the past, sexual assault, kidnapping, animal death, and drug use. If you can think of anything else, let me know. I think
It's so hard to
covers it.
put the content warnings together because you're always like, wait, did I miss something?
Yeah, but I mean, the Storygraph is pretty good when it comes to content warnings. If you want to go look at that as well, they'll show like major content warnings, minor content warnings, things like that. So they're usually pretty good at it. But start off with episode 1 of the show. So a big difference starting off is that they are set in 2 completely different places between the book and the show.
I actually read this. It's only different in the American version of the book.
Oh.
They re-released it in America and changed it. In the original British version, it's where the TV show takes place.
I had no idea.
Interesting, because the author is from England, right? I believe so.
That I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't read that much.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. So the show is set in England, but the American version of the book is set in like Connecticut. But still has the same small town vibe where everyone knows each other, everyone is nosy, and, you know, and everyone knows about a famous murder that happened in this small town, which is a very popular high school girl. Andy Bell was allegedly murdered by her boyfriend, Sal Singh, who then committed suicide after her death. That is the story. So, set 5 years after this event took place, we have our main character, Pippa. She's in high school, or whatever the equivalent is in England. She's in her senior year, and she's doing like a final project for her senior year. And she decides to research this very famous criminal case in her town, which is, I think it's kind of
That's
crazy.
only 5 years old. It's fresh still. This
Yeah.
is not like an old, cold, unsolved mystery. This is a fully solved, fairly recent case.
Yeah. And in the book, it's kind of set up in like a mixed media type. So, first page in, you're given like the project proposal of what the project is, and it's like her capstone project, like what the purpose is and like why she's doing it. And she wants to research into this case. And the purpose of her project is, she says she wants to interview missing person experts, local journalists who reported on the case, newspaper articles, things like that. She wants to use it as a study to report on how print, television, and social media became a key player in the police investigation and the implications of how the press presented Sal and his alleged guilt. So now I'm going to do like a murder intro, if you will, because I feel like the show doesn't really do this justice. Like, I felt like the only reason I knew so much about what went down was because I read the book.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I felt like the show wasn't giving enough details. Like, I was watching it with other people and I was like telling them more information about what happened. And I was like, I wonder how this would feel watching this without reading the book. And I felt like we weren't getting enough. But what we know in the very beginning, based on the book, welcome based on a book. So this is what she has. She does this. She explained this in her capstone logs. And so what we know, Andrea Bell was 17 when she was reported missing, and she was last seen alive with her younger sister, Becca, around 10:30 p.m. the night that she went missing. And there's security footage of her car driving away from her house. So this is confirmed. Andy was supposed to pick up her parents from a dinner party at 12:45 a.m. So from 10:30 to 12:45, something happened between that time frame. Going to current day in the book/show, Andy's body was never recovered. So the town and police are accepting that she's dead because at the time, Sal was questioned when she went missing about where he was during that period of time from 10:30 p.m. to 12:45 a.m. that night. And he said he was with his 4 best friends, Naomi, Jake, Millie, and Max. These 4 people, his 4 friends. He was with them that night. And he said that he left at 12:15 a.m., returned home at 12:50 a.m. And it was like confirmed with his dad. He had alibis for that night. Then, and his friends confirmed that. Then his friends came forward to the police after they had already confirmed, saying that Sal had lied, that he really left at 10:30 p.m. So remember, she left, or there was security footage of her car leaving at 10:40 p.m. Now his friends are saying that he actually left their house at 10:30 p.m. So now he's a suspect to the police. So then later, Sal's father, or I believe it's like the next day or something, following after the friends come forward saying that Sal had lied, Sal's father receives a, quote, confession text from Sal, and Sal's body is later found in the woods, and it is ruled a suicide. Following day, police reveal in a press conference, 1, Andy's car was found parked on like a residential road. 2, they found Andy's phone on Sal's body, traces of Andy's blood under his fingernails. 3, Andy's blood was discovered in the trunk of her abandoned car. 4, Sal's Sal's fingerprints were all over the inside of the car. So now, the reason why Pip is taking on this case is because taking on the case like she's not a 17-year-old girl.
Right.
Pip hates that there is no allegedly here. It's just, there's no probably or most likely. There's no trial. He's just guilty. And she doesn't believe that. But in the show, she actually appears to have more motive because she keeps having these flashbacks to her younger self, seeing Andy and Sal have this argument. Like, she's at her locker and Andy walks by, looks like she's crying. Sal walks by, looks like he's upset. And I want to say it's like right before she goes missing.
It's the day.
Yeah, that day she witnesses this argument. And that also is a motive to her taking on this project as well in the show. That is not in the book. But she also kind of like, she grew up knowing Sal, and Sal was always a good person to her. So she feels like there's something else going on with this case, and something weird's going on, and she wants to look more into it. So that's basically background of murder that this whole town knows about. So back to the project. Present day. Pip is warned by her teachers in the book. In the show, she's also warned by her mom to stay away from Andy's family and Sal's family. So Andy, girl that's missing, that everyone thinks is murdered. Sal, who is everyone thinks murdered Andy. Wants Pip to stay away from their family members because she wants to start interviewing people for this project that were all involved in this crime. And which is interesting that they do that in the show with her mom. I mean, I think that's more realistic, like the parents wanting to protect her from like, don't get involved with the family. But in the book, her parents are very supportive of this project and like wanting her to go investigate and do all these things.
The only thing her mom was upset about was the fact that she did too much homework.
Yeah, she was working too hard at it, and like, you need to take a break, you need to take care of yourself, you're stressing yourself out.
You're spending more time on homework during the summer, you should go out and have fun.
Right.
Yeah. So the first person that she goes and attempts to speak to, like she immediately goes against this and goes to speak to Sal's younger brother, Ravi. And his story and his family's story is very sad because Pip describes his house as the house that everyone knows, like everybody knows where his family lives because they're known as like the quote, like the murderer's family. She walks by and there's spray paint with like scum family on the side. She also describes like the town just like worships Andy and like there's like her pictures are everywhere and everyone is so cruel to Sal's family because
there's a lot of racial bias too, right? Because Sal and Ravi's family, like they are, I guess they never really come out and say Indian, American, but they like a lot of times say like brown skin. Like Ravi calls himself brown skin, and he talks about how like it's easy for them to hate us. It's the whole town seems to just hate them and shun them.
Yeah. It's really, they treat them terribly. And, Pip goes to his house and that's the very first person she wants to talk to get some information and, interview because she's immediately starting her interviews and stuff and maybe kind of talk to and be like, you want to help me with this and like, let's prove, Sal's innocence because this is what I believe. And he isn't really interested at first because he's got a lot of trust issues. In the show, it's a really awkward encounter. Like she's like stalking him and like walking like right behind him with her dog.
Right? That was
down
really
a narrow path behind some houses.
Right.
Like, really like directly behind him. Like he's like stepping on his ankles at this point.
Like, do I know you? Like, are you? And she's like, no, I'm just walking my dog. Immediately behind you on a very narrow path.
Yeah. And in the show, I feel like they're built a lot more suspense as in like trying to make it a little more spookier.
Yes.
In the show than in the book. Like immediately after this scene, she's walking in the woods with her dog Barney. Barney?
Yeah. I want to okay, that's my first note though for the show is what's with the shed?
Yeah, what is with the shed? It's never referenced again.
It's never referenced again, and it's not, I don't remember it even being in the book, but she's like walking her dog through the woods by herself, like you do. And she just suddenly is like, I'm going to go investigate these weird things that are tied onto the trees for no damn reason. And spooky shed. It's not in the book that I can remember.
Unless that was where the calamity party happened.
Yeah, those were the calamity party, like, indications. Those are not it's not in the book, but those
Right.
are, like, part of the
That's kind of what I
show.
thought, was
Yeah.
that, like, those little tied on things to the trees, but, like, the shed part? Like, that
That was weird.
there's no rave in the world that's gonna be in a murder shed like that. Like, that no.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
And then she encounters Becca. So remember, Becca is
Mhm.
Andy's sister and runs into her because she's, like, on a run. And, like, Pip is so weird.
Yeah.
Pip is very strange. Like, she will literally run after people, like,
Mhm.
stalking them. If anyone's a suspect, it's Pip.
Yeah.
Right?
Pip, you are the suspect because you are being creepy all the time. You're being super creepy, but she runs into Becca. This isn't in the book. I mean, something that's very different from the book and the movie or the show that you'll see is the timeline is pretty funky. And also, for every clue that you're getting in the show, there's like 8 clues in the book, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, there's like 8 steps to get to the point that you are getting in the show. Which I get because, like, attention span and stuff whenever you're
Yeah.
watching it on TV versus when you're reading it sometimes and, for entertainment purposes. But I do like when reading it, there's, like, all these steps, and, like, I felt like every single page, there was, like, something new being revealed, and
Mhm.
that made it really exciting. It's like, what do they call it? Like a pop
Breadcrumbs.
what's it called? Like a popcorn thriller or something like
Yes.
that.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
kinda like what it is. But so after this moment, she, like, has this encounter with Becca, but then later, we meet Pip's 2 best friends, Kara and Lauren. And we also meet Kara's sister, Naomi. Remember, Naomi was the one who is also Sal's close friend who said that Sal lied about the time that he left. She was supposed to be like an alibi. So, timeline is a little different in the book. We are missing, like, Ravi's, interview. Like, she
Yeah.
does interview Ravi at this point and has, like, this moment with him, but, in the book. But immediately the first person in the show that she is interviewing is Naomi. And it's really funny when she goes to interview someone because she's, like, immediately, like, not even like a, "Hey, how you doing?" Record, "So, where were you at this time?"
Yep.
It's like, "Okay, like, buy me dinner first." Like, geez.
Right?
Like, oh my god. Immediately recording my words. And, like, it's a small town, and so everyone is finding out that Pip is doing this project and, like, digging into
Mhm.
this, case, and, Naomi is immediately, like, taken back by her, also because she's just, like, looking very suspicious.
Yeah.
And Pip is kinda just trying to get more information about the night that she was hanging out with Sal, like, questioning, like, the alibi, like, "Why did you lie in the first place for Sal?
Right.
And then why did you come back and say that he actually left at this time?" And so she's kinda giving more information about that night, and Pip is like, "She kinda seems a little suspicious. Let me add her to person of interest list."
Oh my god.
Immediately. That would be me. Everyone's a suspect.
Everyone.
Everyone I talk to. The dog, suspect.
Mhm.
My own pet, suspect. That would be me. And then also in the show, you see the show's like kind of zooming in on Naomi's room, and you see pictures of Naomi and Sal to like really close together, like cheek to cheek
Mhm.
pictures, like laying on the bed together, taking selfie type pictures too. So they were like super close. So the next person she interviews in the book and the show is Max Hastings, which is also another person that was supposed to be an alibi for Sal. And in the show, she does it undercover at a party dressed as a star for some
That was
reason.
hilarious.
And this man looks 40.
The man, that's so crazy, Lindsay, because I said the exact same thing, same age and everything. I said, that man is 40 years old.
I
That
was
man
like,
is not, I
what?
guess he's what? He's supposed to be like 21, maybe?
Right.
No, he's
no.
40. He's 40.
Or maybe 23. I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
he's 40. So she's going to his house to, do her little recording interview, and she's at the scene of the crime because that is where they were at that night with Sal, where he claimed to be at that night hanging out with everybody. And she's just basically asking him questions and asking about Andy and Sal's relationship, kind of digging for more information to get a feel.
Okay. And this is where the whole quid pro quo thing, getting her to take shots.
I
Yeah.
know.
I wrote that down too.
I hated it.
Quid pro quo.
Like, why? Like, first of all, it made me laugh because I was like, ooh, Hannibal. But another part of me was like, she was just like, all right, fine, I guess I do drink now. She was like, I don't drink. And he was like, well, then I don't answer questions. And she was like, fine, I'll drink.
Well, that goes back to the beginning of the episode when her and her friends are in the shop and she's supposed to distract the shopkeeper while they buy alcohol. I was like, not my Pip.
Yeah, no.
Mm-mm.
Not my Pip.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that part, I really hated that part. And I was just like, stop taking so many shots at once.
Right?
Stop.
And then I fully expected her to like throw up in the bushes or something. Because I know that 5 shots, like I'm a lightweight.
Of dark liquor, too. I'm pretty
5
sure it was
shots
dark liquor.
of dark liquor back to back to back, boom, 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 would make me sick.
Yeah.
Like, and if you are a non-drinker who is as small as Pip is,
Yeah.
like, she would have been done for.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as those hit, game over.
Yeah.
And it was on an empty stomach because she's been working the party the whole time. She's been
Right?
walking around.
Yep.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I was frightened for her. I was a little scared.
But then they nope, she was a little hungover, but that was about it. Like, no.
Yeah, a little wobbly after. Girl,
little
you should be
wobbly.
blacked out on the lawn at this point.
Right?
You're like 100 pounds soaking wet.
She shouldn't have lasted at all.
Yeah. So she asked him for information about Andy and Sal's relationship, and then the way that she's just walking around this house like she lives there was freaking me out. Like, she doesn't care. She doesn't give a fuck.
Nope.
She literally, she'll walk around anywhere that she wants, like she owns the place.
Yep.
She'll start recording. Like, she doesn't care who
She
she's
takes
talking
pictures
to.
of everything. She doesn't care how private it might be. Like,
No. She has no boundaries because she's trying to solve the case.
And I don't know if I absolutely love that or if it just pisses me off.
Yeah.
Can't decide.
Yeah. So after this point, there is a very big moment in the book that does not happen in the show, and it pisses me off. So in the book, at this exact moment, Pip decides to also interview Kara and Naomi's dad, Mr. Ward, who is a teacher at the school.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, in the show, this never happens. During this interview, she asks him how Sal was in school because she's like, was there any weird indication of like him being like aggressive or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how was he in school? And whether that teacher had ever talked to Andy. And he is like super vague and says he had one class with Andy and that's it. And he also says Sal was, I think he was supposed to go to like Yale or something. Like, he was very smart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it at that point. But it is not in the show, and it should have been in the show.
Well, and he also like drops a few other things that give Pip reason to question other people or new ideas, lines of possibility. And we don't ever get those.
Mm-hmm.
And they were kind of important, some of them,
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of clues missing from the show. And some of them I'm just like, okay, it's fine. We don't really need these clues. But some of them were very important clues that were needed. So now, like I said, it's getting around town what Pip is doing. And Ravi is now beginning to trust her. And like, he's kind of getting on board of, he's like, I want to be involved. And he then reveals that he has Sal's phone. Sal's phone shows an argument that we don't really know about between Sal and Andy on his phone. And it has a text message saying, "I'm not talking to you till you've stopped." And then it also has tons of missed calls to Andy when she went missing because he kept trying to talk to her. And then it also has the quote confession text. Remember in the very beginning, that was kind of something that, made everyone go to like his alleged guilt. And something that's really weird about this quote confession text to his dad is that it has like perfect grammar, which is unusual for Sal because usually he's just like all lowercase letters, no, like he's not doing like periods, apostrophes, nothing.
Right.
But this one text has perfect grammar. And there is another big difference between the book and the show is that the book, whenever they're looking through the phone, the Notes app shows a license plate number. This entire storyline about this license plate number, not in the show.
Not at all.
I'm going to refer to it maybe for like a second later, but this entire storyline, it's not on the show. I get why it's on the show, but the fact that the way this clue was put together in the book was really fun to me. And I get why it's not on the show, but that kind of sucks. But so episode 1 ends with a murder board. Big fancy murder board because Pip is putting all these little bits together.
But no red string.
No red string.
No red string.
Or push pins. She was just using tape on her wall.
Yeah.
Which I respect. That's what I would have done.
Yeah.
But I kind of missed the push pins and the red string.
It was a cool wall, too. It's like one of those chalkboard walls.
Yeah, it was really nice.
I like those. Okay, so episode 2. Now we're in episode 2. It's time to move to interviewing Andy's friends in the investigation. And there are tons of differences here.
Tons.
So many differences between the book and the show. So go ahead.
Well, right off the bat, we have Emma and Chloe are Andy's best friends.
In the book.
In the book.
Yes.
In the show, it's Emma and Nat.
Yes.
Nat in the book is like...
Is scary.
And she's Andy's like nemesis. Andy bullies her. Andy treats her like crap. Natalie hates Andy. Natalie, like Andy's gonna treat me like this, I'm gonna fight fire with fire. They are not friends, but in the show they are. And there is no Chloe at all.
Yeah. So I think that they almost combined Chloe and Nat together to make a Nat.
Like a frenemy type situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's what they did. And I get it. I mean, it's a lot of characters going on.
There's so many characters.
There's so many characters. But first interview is with, she goes on like, a Facebook or something and is like, I'm going to go look and see who were all the friends that were like looking for her when she was missing, who are her best friends. She sees like pictures, like it's like a selfie of like the 3 besties that she had. And
I will say though, in the book, I love that Pippa uses like what is our 2024 style or 2020 style investigation techniques if you were 17 years old. She gets online. She digs deep through everyone's Instas, through everyone's Facebooks. She's looking at who's tagged in what photos. She's printing out the photos, what times and dates those photos. Like, she investigates like a girl who's been cheated on. And I love it.
Yeah.
Like, I was there for that.
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I was there for it. I was like, okay, let's do this. Roll up my sleeves. We'll get in there with you.
Yeah.
It was that was super believable and super kind of fun because, I mean, I've done that,
Yeah.
Except in the TV show, she had the pictures on the wall. But then Ravi shows up and he was like, oh, you haven't put these in chronological order yet. Let me help you. So he has to put them in order for her.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't take all of her genius away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
She was so smart in the book.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, she didn't share her murder board with other people in the book.
Yeah,
That
she
was
was
like
the Sherlock and he was the
Watson.
Watson.
Mm-hmm.
So in the show, like we said, Nat is pretty different. She plays tennis and Pip is warned by Naomi to stay away from her. So she still is like kind of like the frenemy type person. In the book, like we said, completely different person. She's supposed there is a friend named Chloe, different person named Nat. Then so the end game is still kind of the same though here, where it is revealed after speaking to the friends that Andy was possibly talking to a quote secret older guy. So whenever she finds this out, she's like, this could be a person of interest. So now at this point, she kind of is gathering like a lot of people of interest in the book. Like she kind of gathers like a list as she goes. She also has, I think, Andy's dad because after talking to like friends and things like that, she's noticing that Andy's dad may have been like very like emotionally abusive possibly. And so she has that as like a suspect.
They don't really reveal that in the show at all until towards
Nope.
the end, but that is like her main person of interest from
Like
the
it's
very
in
beginning.
bold.
Yeah.
Her very first and her main.
Yeah.
For a very long time. Like
Mhm.
he doesn't get wiped out of the person of interest
Yeah.
list, I think, ever.
I think the first time he is added to the list, like in the very beginning, because she watches like the interview whenever she like first goes missing. It's like the main thing that everyone always talks about. He talks about her as if in the past.
And during
Right.
the interview, yeah,
Mhm.
he
During,
says
like-
was instead of is.
Yeah. Whenever it's like, okay, well, why are you saying was? So that's like always, but I think in the show, if you look at the murder board, he's always like they're always showing it in the show that he's up
Right.
there.
Well,
It's just
when
not talked about.
When she was at the party and she was looking for Max, she heard him on the phone
Yeah.
and he was
Yeah.
yelling and he was like, ugh, daughters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after we find out about the secret older guy, she sees Nat leave after the conversation and leave with her brother, Dan De Silva, I believe, and who is going to become significant later. But she sees him leaving in the car with him. Like he comes and picks her up from this tennis match, this random tennis match.
But she lost.
Yeah. To Kara, I think, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So now we have classic camping trip randomly in the middle of this mystery young adult novel. Where so Pip, Kara, Lauren, and 3 other boys, I think there's only 2 in the show, but in the book
Mhm.
there's supposed to be 3.
They eliminate Anthony or
Yeah.
Ant.
Yeah. They all go on this little camping trip and all being, spooky, doing stupid things like bringing out a Ouija board or something
Yeah.
in the woods.
Telling ghost stories.
Telling
the typical
ghost
stuff.
stories and talking about the entire murder case in the woods. Like, don't do that in the woods. Everyone be quiet. But then eventually they like see someone in the trees.
They see like the flash of someone's phone.
Yeah.
Like phone screen out in
Yeah.
the trees.
And for some reason they book it after the person. In the book, one of the boys books it after that person. In the
Connor.
show, Pip runs
Just
after that
by
person
Takes
herself.
off.
in the middle of the dark woods by herself to chase them. I don't know why.
I was mad. I was like, come on.
Yeah. Never catches them, and then they eventually get back to their tent. But whenever she gets back to the tent, Pip finds a note in her sleeping bag, and it says, "Stop digging, Pippa."
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
I mean, that would have scared the shit out of me. I would have told everybody
would've
right
went
then and there.
home.
Yep. I would have been, you guys, I just found this note in my sleeping bag. It's time to pack it up.
Also, I would have been like, everybody, wake up right now. Who put this shit in my sleeping bag?
We out.
It's not funny.
Well, in the book, she does confront the boys because she thinks it's a prank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the movie, she's just like,
Yeah.
someone's watching us.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I would literally freak out. But at this point, like, Pip is kind of distancing herself from her friends. Like, she is getting tunnel vision on the case, and I can totally relate to this. Like,
Absolutely.
I would be consumed by this,
Yep.
and I would not be able to do anything else.
Mm-mm.
And you can, like, she is realizing her friends are, like, moving on, like, doing, you know, regular high school things, and she's just being consumed by this. She's also trying to get into college, so she's working on, like, other things. Like, she just, like, loves school. Like, she's like that. She's, like, a student that just, like, loves she talks about she loves taking tests and things like that. I'm like, "Okay, girl.
Right. Slow down.
Slow down. Relax." So at this point in the book, there's a pretty big difference where Pip goes back to interview Emma again, which is Andy's friend, in the book. This doesn't happen in the show. And it's revealed that Andy hated Mr. Ward. This is never talked about in the show.
Not at all.
And Andy's friend says that Andy used to call Mr. Ward an asshole. And she was like, kept saying all this stuff about him.
Even
right
though she
before
didn't
went
even take
missing.
his class.
Yeah, saying right before she went missing. So Pip is like, what the hell? Like, this is not good because Mr. Ward just told me that he barely knew the girl and, like, he maybe had a class with her or whatever, but that's it.
It was her sophomore year.
Yeah, so Pip now confronts Mr. Ward again and says that Mr. Ward says that Andy was actually, he confesses that Andy was a bully and he didn't want to, like, I guess didn't want to, like, talk about that when he was first being interviewed by the 17-year-old Pip
Right.
detective. And Mr. Ward contacted Andy's father about it and saying that he needs to do something about it.
Right. And so that Andy probably didn't like him because she got in trouble about it.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
they had a no tolerance to bullying policy. So she was going to get expelled for anything that she did, which, I mean, what she did was pretty bad and illegal, but
yeah,
definitely illegal.
So once they get back from camping, so back to the show, that was just a little thing I had to put in here about at this point in the book that happens, which is pretty significant. In the show, she actually sees Naomi and Max arguing whenever they get back to their house, which is like, why are they arguing off to the side? It's really weird. And then so later, she does like a little stakeout with Ravi. Honestly, I love Ravi.
I know.
They're so freaking cute.
I loved Ravi more in the book, though.
Absolutely.
Oh, 100%. Ravi in the book was way cooler.
Yeah.
Way cooler. And honestly, yeah, Pip and Ravi were just both way cooler in the book.
Yep.
And so they're doing their little stakeout and they see Nat again. And Nat confesses that Andy used to hang out with Max. And Max was really horrible. And Max, before when he was interviewed, said that he like never really talked to Andy at all.
Liar.
Lies. In the book, she wants to reach back out to Max Hastings because she interviews more people, like including Becca's friend, and finds out Max knew Andy a lot more than what he was letting on that way. So in the show at this point, so she's like, I gotta go talk to Max again because he was lying. So in the show, she goes, this really irritated me. In the show, she goes to Max's house and she's like, I need to go talk to Max, and like talking to whoever answers the door. I forget who answers the door. It's
his
like,
dad.
Yeah, his dad. She's like, I need to go talk to Max. And he's like, go follow his cologne or whatever. And like, so she gets to walk around a house again
and
do whatever she wants, walk around a house to a random, and then finally finds the door that is Max's room, and Max is in the shower, and she's walking around his room, digging around his room, opening drawers, doesn't even care,
like taking pictures of shit. Like
in the book, she wants to talk to Max when she goes to his house. Max is like, what do you want now and stuff, and she's like, I want to know why you lied about knowing like Andy. He's like, let's go talk in my room.
Because
So
she says it in front of his mom.
Yeah. So they go in his room, and he's kind of like eyeing his like a board off to the side of his room. I like this part a lot.
Yeah.
He's like eyeing the board like on the side of his room while he's talking. Like, and she's like, what is on that board that he doesn't want me to see? And he keeps eyeing it, and then all of a sudden she goes to the board and she starts like digging around the board, and he's like, stop. And she gets out a picture, and it's a topless photo of Andy.
Dun dun dun.
And in the show, she finds it I don't think it's a topless photo. It's like a photo
It's just
with her in lingerie.
risque.
Yeah, risque photo. Behind it's so corny in the show. It's like behind like in a picture frame by his bed of a photo of her, but it's like super obvious, like weirdly sitting there. It's really bizarre, but I like how it's done in the book. And Max reveals that he never received that photo from Andy. He found it in a classroom, and that he just like kept it, and that he knew Andy because Andy used to sell drugs to him that he would buy from her at calamity parties. And that's the end of episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we will wrap it up for part 1. Any final thoughts on the first 2 episodes?
So far, our persons of interest: Jason Bell, Naomi Ward, Secret Older Guy, Nat Da Silva, and Daniel Da Silva.
Period.
Yep.
I just love the drama. The drama in it is just good.
So much drama.
I love it. I'm here for it. All right, so that's a wrap on part 1 of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. If you haven't read the book or watched the next 2 episodes, go do that so you're ready for part 2. Remember, if you enjoyed this chaos, rate, review, and subscribe, because we definitely need more listeners to help solve this mystery.
Please.
Or at least pretend like we know what we're talking about. If you have any wild theories or opinions about the book or TV show, hit us up on our social media. We are available on Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Also, don't forget we have a book adaptation submission form in the show notes. Feel free to send us an adaptation you loved or hated so we can possibly cover it in the future. Until next time, keep your friends close, your suspects closer, and your alibis super airtight. See you in the next chapter based on a book. Bye.
Bye.